What's going on YouTube? Dapper Dan here. Another beautiful day here in Colorado. It is pretty hot actually. It's in the upper 90s at least. It is very hot. And today actually, the day that I'm recording this is September 11th. So I took last week off for Labor Day. I was up in the mountains with my girlfriend, so didn't really record anything or put out a video or anything like that. Why is this semi going so slow? This bike does not like to go slow. Yeah, she wanted me to spend time with her, so that's what I did. Anyways, so today being September 11th, I figured I would talk about where I was at when the attacks on the World Trade Centers happened. I was 11 years old, and I remember that morning my dad had the news on for some reason. I don't remember if he normally had the news on, but I remember that morning he had the news on before we were going to school, me and my little brother. I was in 6th grade, I believe, and we saw it on the news before we were heading to school. It was here in Colorado. We're 2 hours behind New York, so I think it was like 8:45 in New York, so it was like 6:45 in the morning here. We watched the news a little bit before we went to school, and I think we still got to school on time. But when I did get to school, they at first it was like classes as normal. I think I had a couple classes in the morning. Those went by normally. No one really talked about it. And then they had an assembly, and all of us were in there, and they were just like, they were talking about what was going on, give us updates and stuff. They didn't play any news or anything. It was just like the principal and a couple teachers at the time talking about what's going on. I guess before we get any further in this video, let's have a little moment of silence for those people who lost their lives on that day, September 11th, 2001, and also for everyone who has lost their lives since that day fighting the global war on terrorism. So we'll start that moment of silence here. Alright, and we're back. So yeah, they had that assembly for us, and that's really the last thing that I remember from that day. I just remember that morning specifically. I think at the time it was just the World Trade Centers, and I don't think the Pentagon had happened yet, the Pentagon being hit. But I just remember at least one tower was hit. And I remember seeing the replay of the second one. They had the replay of the second one over and over again. And then while I was at school, that's when the towers fell. And yeah, I think that's one of the things that they were talking about with us. And then the last thing that happened was that plane that didn't quite make it to its destination. It crashed in the middle of Pennsylvania or something, I think. I can't remember which state. But it didn't quite make its destination thanks to some people on board who ended up getting the plane out of the hands of the terrorists. They crashed the plane in the middle of nowhere. Hey, what's up? But yeah, and then a lot of people lost their lives in the impact. A lot of people lost their lives when the towers collapsed. And a lot of people lost their lives trying to help get people out. Like, everyone came together that day and everyone was trying to help actually. And when I was in 9th grade, we ended up going on a school vacation kind of thing. It was just my class, and we ended up going to New York and going to the ground zero of the trade centers. I do remember that also. By that time, that was I don't know the year, but it was 9th grade. So probably 2004 or something like that. So everything was cleaned up by that time. So it was just 2 giant holes in the ground. And at that time, I think they were still doing the 2 lights. They used to have 2 big lights where the towers were, and they would just shine straight upwards. So yeah, and then as you guys know, I was in the military, so I joined post 9/11, joined in 2008, and I went to both Iraq and Afghanistan. It wasn't too bad when I went, but I heard in the early days of the war that it was really bad. Like, people were getting in conflicts all the time and getting in fights. It wasn't too bad. Like, when I was in Iraq, there was a lot of car bombs and roadside bombs, but nothing that really affected me except for that one time that I should have been on a convoy and I ended up getting kicked off last minute. But when I was in Afghanistan, that was definitely a lot worse. I mean, I can't even imagine how it was in the early days. There we go. There's some flags for September 11th, honoring everybody. It's a sweet car too. But yeah, when I was in Afghanistan, it was definitely pretty bad there still. It was bad when I was there, so I can't even imagine how it was in the previous years. When I was in Afghanistan, we would get mortared every single day. Luckily though, I was not infantry, so I wasn't like going door to door outside the wire like they used to do. I was IT, so I was relatively safe for the most part compared to most of the other jobs that people had to do. I mean, the 9/11 was definitely part of the reason why I joined the military. I did it for a little bit of patriotism and a little bit for the college money, which I didn't even end up using. Haven't used it yet, so I still haven't used that. I've gotten pretty good jobs based on my experience alone. So there you guys go. There is my story of where I was at on 9/11 and pretty much the events that happened afterwards, the events that led me to where I am today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and just hit the thumbs up anyway to honor everybody who lost their lives. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think, let me know where you were at when 9/11 happened and how it affected you, if you were alive at that time. I realize now that there's people probably that watch my channel that weren't even alive at that time. If you really enjoyed the video, share it with a friend. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching and have a good day. Later.